My name is Ross Beerman. I'm a South African and started AllLife in 2004. And AllLife provides life insurance to people living with HIV. Massive issue in South Africa, 18% of the population is HIV positive. Massive need. If you can't get life insurance, you can't access other financial service products. Also, it drives into the stigma that HIV is not a chronic manageable disease, but rather HIV is a terminal illness, and if insurance companies turn you down, really what they're saying is they expect you to die too quickly for them to make a profit, and that kind of feeds into a whole mortality stigma, which is in reality not the case. So back in 2004 we decided to, with a couple of friends, decided to set up a life insurance business in a space that nobody else thought was kind of possible, I guess. Until very recently we were the only participant in this market. We've grown north of 55% a year for the last decade. We have about 350 people working in the business in South Africa, and we'll add about another 100 people this year. And we're growing into this 18% market. And other people have theoretically started to offer product, but in the traditional life insurance way. I studied engineering. I was an engineer for 3 years and 1 day. Went to business school, went backpacking around the US, ended up joining an investment bank there, corporate finance as I was told, M&A, and worked there for a while, and then left the US, got a bit homesick, went back to South Africa, did some private equity, and then started up a business and sold out of that at the end of 2003. So kind of the sale went through in December 2003, and then I was having coffee with a couple of friends, and we started talking about insurance. So firstly, insurance for me was an interesting place to be entrepreneurial, because nobody wants to be entrepreneurial in insurance. I'm yet to meet anybody who's excited to be in. Well, there are people who are happy to be in insurance, but there's nobody grows up wanting to go into insurance, and it's a place where pretty much everybody thinks a couple of 100-year-old industry. There's nothing to be done. It's all been done before. I mean, if you talk to entrepreneurial people, generally they're looking at IT or biotech or something cool, and there's nothing cool about insurance. So I thought that this has to be the place where there is opportunity. And for me, in South Africa, the biggest unserved market are people living with HIV. And when we looked at it, we said, surely insurance is, you can just price insurance. If somebody's going to die tomorrow, you can give them insurance. It's just going to be very expensive, but surely you can do that. What do these insurance people know? Okay, they surely haven't been paying attention. And we spent a bit of time looking at that and found that they had actually paid attention. Okay. But the problem with people living with HIV is that there are two big segments. There's a group of people who are doing the right thing, and they are going to live a very long time. And there are a group of people doing the wrong thing, and they are not going to live a very long time. And nobody sits at the average. So if you price a product at the average, what it means is that you price it too expensive for the people who are doing the right thing, and they won't buy the product. And you price it too cheap for the people doing the wrong thing, and they will take the product, which means you actually end up having to price for people doing the wrong thing, which is very, very expensive and a pointless product to issue into the market. So we said, okay, what we'll do is we'll ask some clever questions, and we'll figure out who the people are who are doing the right thing, and then we'll just give them insurance. I mean, how difficult can it be? And we found out that actually pretty difficult, because what you're trying to do is predict behavior over the next 30 years from very short duration data. So, and insurance companies had in fact tried to do this, because that's how insurance companies work, right? So insurance is, the past is a predictor of the future. So unlike in asset management, that's a disclaimer. In insurance, that's the way it's done. If you walk into an insurance company and you used to smoke, or you are a smoker, you are assumed to stay a smoker. You can't go in and say, give me life insurance, I'm going to stop next week. Just give me a price that as if I've stopped, because definitely I'm going to stop. So no life insurance company will do that. Your past is the predictor of your future mortality, your future path. So we looked at this and we said, okay, so we can't identify the people who are doing the right thing. But actually, we've got a whole lot of data. We know what people should be doing. Surely people want to know what they should be doing. So instead of looking for people who are doing the right thing, Why don't we just turn everybody who comes into our environment into people who will live a long time, into people who manage their health, into people who will have long and healthy lives. And by doing that, we'll be profitable, because because as an insurance business, you want people to live a long time. Our clients want to live a long time. So that was about the first 3 weeks of the entire business planning process. And then the question was whether you could deliver a behavioral intervention at a lower cost than you improve mortality. Because if it costs more to improve mortality, then you get an improvement in life expectancy, then you're a charity or an NGO. If it costs you less, then you can be a profitable and sustainable business. And kind of that's really what our clients want. Our clients want well, actually they want insurance, which is why they come to us in the first place. But to deliver it, we're actually helping them do kind of something really sustainable and really impactful on their lives. So there's an interesting issue with risk, right? So I think entrepreneurship is about mispriced risk. It's not about taking risk, it's about taking mispriced risk. So for me, the interesting thing in insurance is that you'll hear people say they're looking for good risks. We don't look for good risks, we look for risk we can price properly. That's a good risk. So a good risk is not someone, so firstly, every life insurance company's clients are going to die. So if that comes as a surprise, I'm terribly sorry, but everybody's clients are going to die. So the question really is when, right? And whether you've priced appropriately for when they're going to die. And if you've done that, then everybody's a good client. There's nobody who isn't a good client if you can price them correctly. And really what we do is, what other insurance companies do is they could price our clients, but we actually change their risk. We materially change their risk, which allows us to pass some of the benefit across to themselves, use some of that benefit to pay for the cost of changing that risk, and keep some of it ourselves as profit. So I think most of the entrepreneurs I've met are not what you'd call risk takers. Okay, they're mispriced risk takers. You want to operate in inefficient markets. You want to operate in spaces that other people don't really understand what's going on, because if other people don't understand, then there's opportunity. And if thousands of people are focused at a space, it means that it's almost automatically more efficient. Okay? And that's for me a less attractive space. I mean, so if you take life insurance for people living with HIV, everybody thinks it's insane, right? It sounds horribly risky. But once I explain the model, it doesn't actually sound, kind of quite as off the wall as it starts out. And that's really what it is. It's taking this perception of risk and changing that perception into a reality that's somewhat different. So there are some very entrepreneurial people that come out of South Africa, and there are some great entrepreneurship stories that come out. But the environment itself is not supportive of entrepreneurship. You have to overcome greater barriers. So the access to capital is lower. The regulatory environment's a nightmare. It's a nightmare here too, but nonetheless. But the regulatory environment's a nightmare. You get no real governmental support, and kind of culturally, it's kind of being an entrepreneur, the line between working for yourself and not working at all is quite blurred. So culturally, it's not a great fit. That being said, there's stresses and strains in the South African environment. There's high unemployment. There's lack of skills. All these actually drive towards entrepreneurship. So they drive. You've got to find a way. You've got to make a path. You've got to do your thing. Otherwise, you can't generate income and revenue and all that kind of. So that drives a certain entrepreneurial behavior. Then, if you manage to succeed, the barriers to entry, the barriers for other people to follow you, are actually much higher than they would be in other environments. So, kind of the nice example for me is, so I love the life insurance regulatory environment. So if you talk to anybody in life insurance, they hate the regulatory environment, right? It's tough, it's onerous, there's tons of things the regulator requires you to do, and it adds a burden of cost, and it adds a burden of process, and it's nightmarish, it takes everybody's time. It's like, what a pleasure, because people can't enter the industry pretty much anymore, right? Because when we started, our regulator was born in the same year. Okay, so to start a life insurance business now, surprisingly, you need to have some life insurance experience. Okay, fair enough. Seems like a sound regulation. Regulation didn't exist when we started, right? So You need certain processes, you need certain operations, you need to have compliance officers, you need to have track record, all kind of solid, good things, but they all stop people from following you. So on the one side, you can view regulation as this big burden. On the other side, it's a great barrier to entry for us. It also distracts all the incumbents because it gives them something else to focus on. But so the bigger the hurdle means that if you overcome it, the harder it is for others to follow you. And so there's kind of, can you raise capital? Very difficult in South Africa, much easier in developed markets. But if you succeed, you've got over a hurdle that's very hard for other people to climb after you. So the competitive environment is reduced if you make it past. And people, people complain that big corporates never, they kind of are slow and won't do stuff. But the reason there's opportunity is because big corporates are slow. And so often the fact of these things that make society less efficient are the places that create opportunity. So it's kind of counterintuitive a little bit that the exact reasons people complain about why it's hard to do certain things is why if you actually succeed, it's hard for other people to follow you. And that's so it is hard to be an entrepreneur in South Africa. It's hard to access finance. The regulatory environment's tough. South Africans are very entrepreneurial. There's an environment that requires people to be entrepreneurial because of the limited rate of opportunities. If we talk about mispriced risk, there is a massive lack of skills in South Africa, which means if you have skills, they are mispriced. Okay? There's opportunity for people with skills that maybe wouldn't exist in other parts of the world.